Good morning everyone and welcome to the RSAF Open House 2021. My name is Ray Kanu and I am super excited to be here with the RSAF's Star of the Day. This is On the Radar with Major Iskandar.
Very good morning, Rai, and everybody joining us. Glad to be here today.
So, Major, as an F-15 SG pilot in the RSAF, what got you into flying?
Wow, Rai, that's a really long story. I started my interest in aviation from a very young age. My dad was an engineer in Singapore Airlines, so I spent a lot of time at Changi Airport actually waiting for him to finish work.
Wow.
And then he introduced me to Singapore Youth Flying Club. So I started in secondary school learning how to build planes from balsa wood.
Wow.
As part of the program. And then went on to join the private pilot's license program, got my flying license from the Singapore Youth Flying Club. That's where I learned the role of the Air Force, the importance of our Air Force, and that's why I knew back then that I wanted to join the Air Force as a fighter pilot and fly jets.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a very long journey. So how did you get from there to where you are today?
Yeah, it's a really long journey. You join the Air Force through, you join BMT first, basic military training, like any NSF. Subsequently, you go on to officer cadet school. So, you learn about the structure of the Air Force, you learn about survival training, this kind of stuff. And then for some, they go through air grading and then basic wing training, which is where you fly a propeller plane, a PC-21. And then for me, after that, I was streamed to fighters, went to Canada to fly the Hawk. It was an interesting experience, going from a tropical climate to a minus 30 degrees Celsius kind of environment. Yeah,
that's so cold.
Yeah, very cold. And then went on to convert on the Air 5 initially for my initial conversion. Went on to study, came back and converted on the F-15. So the time from my first taste of aviation back in Youth Flying Club to today has been about 20 years.
20 years, now that's a very long time. But the thing about flying, I'm sure it's not a job for just anyone, right? Aside from just flying the aircraft, I'm sure you have many other responsibilities and challenges. What are they?
I think every job has its own challenges. Being a fighter pilot means, it's you need a lot of dedication, a lot of discipline. We have a routine, daily routine. So every day when you fly, you come in for a brief, you plan for the mission, you fly the mission, and then you come back and debrief. Make sure you pick out the right lessons learned from those missions. Besides that flying, besides the core of flying, we are also responsible for the air defense of Singapore. The Air Force maintains a 24/7 watch over our airspace, which means our fighter air crew need to be ready at any time, at all times, to respond to any kind of suspicious activity in the air.
Wow. And I know that suspicious activity is considered a scramble, right? That's what happens when you see a suspicious aircraft.
Yeah.
Now that already sounds highly stressful. How many scrambles have you been involved in?
Quite a few actually. Since my time flying the Air 5, has been quite a few times.
And what's it like when you're on duty for a scramble?
Well, it's exciting. It's a very fulfilling mission. When a scramble call comes, you hear alarm bells ring in the squadron. So you stop whatever you're doing, you kit up, run to the aircraft, start the aircraft, and then launch within minutes. We wear a helmet with a headset, and then we get live information and instructions from our controllers.
Wow.
On how to respond to that suspicious activity. Yeah.
You know what? You heard the words from Major Iskandar. Well, now let's see what happens when we scramble the jets. Monday, at the break of dawn. It's just a typical day at the office for many. I'm here at Paya Lebar Air Base, and we're about to witness firsthand the RSAF pilots in action. For pilot Major Iskandar, it's a day of force preparation. His duty? To lead a formation of F-15 SG pilots who guard our skies.
There's no typical day. Every day is different. One day you can be planning to fly, another day you're planning to do training, simulator, sortie. You can also be doing physical training, or another day you are writing strategic papers.
Major Muhammad Iskandar is an F-15 SG pilot from the Republic of Singapore Air Force. He is an experienced fighter pilot who has once led over 70 aircraft from the Royal Thai Air Force, the United States Air Force, and the RSAF to successfully complete a large force mission.
Passion for flying really started with my parents, especially my dad. He wanted to join the Air Force in the 1960s, never had a chance. Growing up, many people have said, it's difficult to become a pilot. There are always, naysayers along the way.
A junior aircrew in the F-15SG community, Captain Nicholas Goh stays hungry for every mission as each is a learning opportunity to hone his tactical skills, the foundation blocks to becoming more proficient and lethal in the cockpit. His passion jump-started this once lofty childhood dream into a rewarding career, but it is his diligence and resilience that will propel him to greater heights.
For me personally, growing up, I think my parents screened Top Gun a few times, and that inspired me to want to work around fighter aircraft and also in them, which pushed me to pursue a career as a aircrew. I used to be quite mischievous in school, so I think my close family members didn't think that I would function in a work environment which is a little more authoritative.
But little do these pilots know that their readiness will be put to the ultimate test.
Unidentified aircraft, you are currently approaching Singapore airspace. Please sound your intentions.
The RSAF's early detection systems such as ground sensors and the Gulfstream G550 airborne early warning aircraft have identified what is described as a bogey, an unidentified flying object approaching our country's airspace.
Have we confirmed a position?
Unidentified aircraft is positioned bearing 090 inbound 300 knots and closing in.
Is there any response from the pilot?
Negative, ma'am, no response.
With little to no information about the intentions of the bogey, the RSAF scrambles its aircrew and ground crew immediately to launch the fighters in response to the potential threat.
Let's scramble the jets.
Griffin to scramble. I repeat, Griffin to scramble. Over.
Usually when we do scramble, it could be a aircraft threat. We will look to intercept the aircraft, identify the aircraft, and make communications with them and state our intentions for the aircraft.
This operation also involves RSAF personnel of different vocations such as ground crew, Air Force engineers, command and control personnel, all working seamlessly together to get the aircraft in the air.
So when the call comes in, the operations officer and the squadron will scramble and the fighters on standby. As an aircrew, we will run to the aircraft, start up the aircraft, and take off as fast as we can. The greatest challenge for all aircrew, or fighter aircrew, is that it takes many years to train and develop a competent fighter aircrew.
The engineers also play a vital role in getting the aircraft in the air. While the F-15SG's pilots start their engines and conduct their initial pre-flight checks, the engineers ensure that the planes are fueled, all external control surfaces are functioning, and their weapons are properly attached.
Griffin, Paya Lebar Tower, clear takeoff runway 02, surface wind 220, 30 knots. Clear for takeoff, runway 02, Griffin.
Within a matter of minutes, the pilots get their F-15SGs up in the air and make their way towards the bogey.
Control, Griffin, intercepting bogey. Griffin, control, copy, over.
Once we are airborne, it really depends on the kind of threat that is presented to us. Air traffic controller will advise us on what that threat is and the appropriate response to take.
The F-15SG is a multi-role fighter aircraft. Piloted by 2 crew members, it can carry a wide range of weapons from short to medium-range air-to-air missiles for airborne targets, as well as laser-guided bombs for the accurate elimination of ground force targets. It is powered by 2 turbofan jet engines that give it a top speed of Mach 2.5, or 2.5 times the speed of sound. Traveling at almost 3,000 kilometers per hour, the aircraft is able to then intercept a fast-flying enemy aircraft.
Control, we are fast approaching the bogey. Griffin, roger.
The tactical fighter aircraft is equipped with radar, with air-to-air and air-to-surface capabilities, which detect, identify, and engage targets over long distances. Paired with its joint helmet-mounted cueing system that feeds targeting information into the pilot's line of sight through his helmet, it's no wonder the F-15SG is one of the world's most lethal fighters, ready to take on any threat with ease.
Unidentified aircraft, you are approaching Singapore airspace. State your intentions. I repeat, state your intentions. Control, Griffin, we have no response. Griffin, roger. Reconfirm radar contact with the bogey.
But there seems to be a problem. The RSAF pilots are trying to establish contact with the unidentified aircraft with the aim of understanding the aircraft's true intentions.
We will look to intercept them, and we will establish video comms with them and let them know that they're in Singapore airspace. And we will look to either escort them out of the airspace or they will face a response from us. So as a visual fighter, my job is to back him up with sensors to build his situational awareness of all the air-to-air threats.
You know, there are many challenges when we scramble. Time is one factor. The appropriate response required for that particular threat is also a challenge.
I would say every mission has its own unique set of problems and challenges that we need to face. So being able to adapt to every mission's different requirements.
The pilots must be prepared for any type of scenario. For Major Iskander and Captain Nicholas, it's a test of their skills and decision making.
Every time someone says that you can't do something, I take it upon myself to prove them wrong and to achieve what I think, what my dreams and passions are. I use that as fuel to do better.
I find myself wanting to bring more out of every mission. I would want to be the visual fighter that every single pilot would want to fly with.
Griffin, can we reconfirm radio contact? Over. Unidentified aircraft, you have been intercepted by RSAF fighters.
This is Echo 247. I've lost navigation and I'm unsure of my current position.
Contact established. Now that the RSAF has deemed the pilot's intentions as a non-threat to Singapore, the RSAF pilots can now escort the aircraft back for further investigations.
Copy Echo 247. We'll escort you back for landing. You are to comply with all instructions.
Echo 247, roger that.
It all boils down to training and preparation. You know, years of training ensure that we are always ready to overcome any form of threats. So the moment the button is pressed, it all comes naturally.
It's mission success. Our fighters ensured that the bogey was no threat to Singapore and safely escorted the plane to land for further investigations. That was a close call. For Major Iskander and Captain Nicholas, this mission is a milestone in their career because successfully leading their team in the mission gives them even more confidence to take on tougher scenarios.
I'm only playing a small part in this entire defense ecosystem of Singapore. In terms of the squadron, our fighter squadrons maintain a high level of readiness to ensure the security of our skies and to ensure the defense of our country and our people and our way of life.
I found a sense of belonging being in a fighter squadron. The fighter squadron feels to me like an extended family. The role of this squadron would be to safeguard Singapore's skies, and when the time calls for it, to ensure that we always keep our skies safe.
Day or night, the RSAF plays a vital role in keeping the peace in our skies. But for Major Iskander and Captain Nicholas, it's just another day in the office. Whoa, people at home, I can't even begin to describe to you what it's like to be that close to an F-15 jet.
Yeah, I'm glad you had the opportunity to get a rare insight into what we do.
No, I'm so lucky. And you know what I thought was really amazing was the precision and the coordination that your team had. And of course, to witness the prowess of the F-15 SG, the aircraft jets were just, I don't know. I'm lost. You can see I'm lost for words, right? Oh, man. You're going to move on to the next segment right now. And I have prepared, I'm still excited. I have prepared the most Googled questions for you to answer, Major Iskander.
Okay.
Are you
Sounds good.
ready?
Yeah, bring it on.
All right. Most Googled questions. How do I become an F-15 pilot?
Well, firstly, you need to join the Air Force. But, the truth is, you don't actually choose the platform you get to fly. The Air Force assesses based on operational needs, and you get posted there, so you don't choose.
You don't get to choose?
No.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right, so question number 2, most Googled question. How long will it take for me to become an F-15 pilot?
Well, from the time you join the RSAF from BMT to the time you are fully operational on the F-15, takes about 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
So this is the thing that I want to know, because you've got a very cool nickname, right? They call you Ramp.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how do you get this call sign?
So every fighter aircrew has a call sign, and the story behind the call sign is always kept a secret. I can give you a clue into mine. It's an acronym to my backstory. It was given by my commander fighter group many years ago. The rest is classified, And like what Maverick will say in Top Gun, I could tell you, but I probably got to kill you.
I have seen that movie many times. I'm so familiar with that line from Tom Cruise. All right, I'm sure the audience has some questions for you as well. So let's see what the audience is curious about. All right, first up, we have a question from Adrian. Now, he would like to know whether you felt nervous when being activated for air defense, and was it stressful for you?
Well, that's an excellent question from Adrian. I didn't feel stressed. In fact, I felt confident, knowing that the team have trained and prepared for such contingencies for many years. Like I said, it takes about 7 years for you to be fully operational, and likewise for air defense duties, it takes many years before you are entrusted to undertake such duties. So I know we are prepared. We are prepared for it, for any form of contingencies, and we will carry out the mission effectively. But I think most importantly is the sense of satisfaction, witnessing that years of training throughout all the different agencies in the Air Force coming together to ensure a mission success, in responding to that suspicious air activity.
That's right.
Yeah. And what we need to remember is when we respond to such calls, it's not an exercise. It is not training anymore. It is for real. And that is where the satisfaction comes from, knowing that we are at the tip of the spear to ensure the defense of our country.
Wow. And you know what? I can personally vouch for the teamwork and coordination that these guys have. And you know what? Big up to you guys for that.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right. Okay, moving on. Anonymous user, wow, would like to ask you if the activations are really sudden, like a surprise, and how do you prepare for it there and then? Like, do you know when there's a sudden call?
The activations can come at any time, really. Like I said earlier, you are in a squadron and the bells will go off.
Yeah.
You stop everything you do and then you respond to that threat. But we are prepared 24/7 for it. Even when we're not responding to such threats, we are trained. We train overseas, we train locally, all sorts of mission types to ensure we are able to respond to a sort of different kinds of scenarios, day, night. And so with that amount of training that we have, we are always prepared for such contingencies. So we are ready and, not really nervous. Yeah.
Wow. That's quite heartening to hear.
Yeah.
All right, we need to end our segment soon, but before we do that, let's take a few more questions. We have a question from a YouTube viewer now. So he or she would like to ask you for some tips on how to make it as an F-15 pilot.
Well, unfortunately, there is no shortcut to become an F-15 pilot. You join the Air Force, it's a long journey. You go through basic military training, officer cadet school, basic wings course, fighter wings course, and then you go through operational conversion unit where you really learn how to fly the platform that you're assigned to. First you learn how to fly your aircraft, you learn how to lead another wingman, lead a formation, and then after that lead an entire huge package for the mission that's required. And so it's not a shortcut. You need determination, you need a drive to pursue and complete that objective. But what is important is also to note that as fighter aircrew, we need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. What do I mean by that is you are always learning.
Yeah.
You are always pushing the boundaries to be even better and strive for perfection if there is. And so you're always learning new things, not just about the aircraft, not just about tactics and doctrines, but everything around human performance, international relations, and everything that surrounds the defense ecosystem of Singapore.
Wow, that sounds like a lot to learn.
Yeah, and just to share a story, just not long ago, a couple of weeks back, my dad saw me studying in the kitchen, preparing for a flight, going through my flight manuals, and he came and he said, "You've been in the Air Force for almost 15 years, and why are you still studying? Do you not stop?"
Yeah.
And I whispered to myself, it never ends because of the nature of a job. You always need to learn, you always need to grow, and I think that's the beauty of a career in the Air Force. There's no boring moment. You're always growing and grooming.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's like learning for a lifetime, right?
Yes.
Well, you know what? Here's another tip for you guys. this job is not for the faint-hearted. You know, I always thought it's like quite a flashy job to be a fighter pilot, right? But there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes, so much work and dedication.
Definitely.
But you know, you also mentioned earlier about your dad.
Yeah.
I understand that why you became a pilot today was because of his influence.
Yeah.
Maybe you can care to share a little bit more about that.
Well, you know, my dad, he was in Singapore Airlines. Before he actually joined Singapore Airlines, you know, back in the 1960s, our Air Force, or back then the SADC, we were looking for pilots. And so he was one of the first few, you know, candidates who signed up to be a pioneer, tried to be a pioneer group of fighter pilots.
Wow.
But unfortunately, he never got the chance. And he, you know, transferred his interest back into Singapore Airlines. And so he introduced me the passion for aviation through Singapore Youth Flying Club, and thereafter the Air Force. You know, when I knew I wanted to join the Air Force, many people were saying, you know, you're not going to make it. It's a long journey. It's going to be tough. I don't think you can do it. But my dad was there the whole way, you know, motivating, training, you know, let's push the boundaries. And, you know, suffice to say, here I am today. To my dad, you know, thanks to my dad and many others who supported me along the way.
Oh, it really sounds like, you know, both of you really built that dream together.
Yeah, we did, sure.
You know, thanks so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Lots of questions have been coming in from RH21 because, you know what, we are live right here and taking all of your questions. So there are quite a few coming in. There are a few interesting ones as well. Let me just move over to our live section. All right. First question, Youngway94 wants to know how many times you have watched Top Gun and are you still watching it?
Top Gun, yeah. If you ask most fighter aircrew, they will probably tell you they lost count. So I don't know actually how many times I've watched it, countless of times. Probably watched it last week as well. And there's Top Gun 2 coming out.
Wow.
So that's, yeah, I don't know. I'll probably watch it again when I get back home later today.
Top Gun is like is it like a pilot's Bible almost, you know?
Almost, yeah.
Okay, Michael Bay 469 wants to know, this is funny. Michael Bay 469 wants to know when the canopy closes and you take off and you realize there's a mosquito buzzing around the cockpit. What do you do then?
Okay, I love this question really because it reminds me of an incident a couple of weeks back. So we were, you know, cruising along. I was flying the F-15, and suddenly in the middle of the flight, I saw something in my vision. You know, your instinctive reaction is try to swipe it away.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh, it's not moving anywhere. And the horror struck. I realized that I had a praying mantis about the size of my palm inside my visor, right in front of my face.
Oh my God, a praying mantis!
Yeah, a praying mantis. It's not something we train for, but you know, we keep calm. My backseat, the visual fighter was looking and like, okay, he has it under control. Raised my visor, flicked it away, right? Now the issue with flicking a huge insect, praying mantis, is that now you have something that's potentially flying around as a foreign object in the aircraft. Which is not what you want, especially in critical phases of flight, like when you're trying to land and this bug lands onto your face, right? So we had to find it. And of all places in the cockpit for the praying mantis to land, I found it sitting nicely on my ejection seat handle.
Oh my God.
Right? Of all places, on the ejection seat handle. So we remained calm and we found a creative way to neutralize
neutralize the threat?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So not mosquito, but something bigger, yeah.
Wow, so these guys are, you know, they don't just handle mosquitoes in their cockpit, people. This is praying mantis. All sorts of situations in the air. Amazing stuff. All right, let's move on to the next question. Reagan Rocks is asking if you have ever felt the urge to go to the toilet mid-flight.
Interesting. So personally for me, not yet so far, because I make it a habit to actually hit the toilet before I step for flight. But if we do need to do a small business, we do carry a small specialized bag to actually do that.
That would be definitely very useful, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. YouTube and Facebook viewers are asking, what aircraft types does the RSAF use?
Wow, okay, we have a lot, you know, from transport to helicopters to fighters to unmanned vehicles, but you know, it's a long list for me to put it down. And one way to do that is check out our open house over the next couple of weeks. You know, you can view the displays online and know more about our assets.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, just going to do a quick check. Do we have any more live questions coming in for this segment? Oh, all right. Okay. So it looks like we have come to the end of this live broadcast. On the radar with Major Iskandar. What a pleasure having you. And you guys remember to log on to go.gov.sg/ROH21 to visit the RSAF Open House 2021, which is now open till the 19th of December. So check out a lot of exclusive behind-the-scenes demonstrations of RSAF capabilities and enjoy some gameplay with some exciting interactive games where you can customize your very own avatar. And don't forget, we also have virtual static displays of the RSAF aircraft and ground-based air defense weapons. Plus, all the real-life stories of our airmen and airwomen. You don't want to miss that. So there's lots and lots to do, lots of prizes to be won. So visit ROH21 before the 19th of December for this very special experience. I'll be back right here tomorrow at 12 noon with Freezer from the Search and Rescue team. So this is Ray Kanu signing off. Major Iskandar, thank you so much for being on the show. And we'll see you tomorrow.